What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're excited because it's here. It is officially the week of the 2022 NFL Draft. The first round taking place on Thursday night, the second and third rounds on Friday night, rounds 4 through 7 wrapping things up on Saturday afternoon, as well as undrafted free agency. We have a lot of plans. We have a lot of content that we're going to be giving you. We'll get into that in a little bit here throughout the week, obviously, as it all unfolds. But this is the last video that we're going to have like this particular format where it's just you and me, mano y mano, sitting around the proverbial campfire, kind of sitting, chatting, talking about the Cowboys and what we think is going to happen throughout the draft. And so, just kind of wanted to kick around some ideas, some thoughts, some things that are on my chest, hopefully some things that are on your chest, and just kind of sort through them. As far as what we have going on this week, so that you're aware, we have a very special video. We started doing some Spanish content here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. I have been practicing my Spanish this offseason. I cannot promise that it is perfect, but I am a work in progress. So if you love the beautiful language, you can of course check that out. It is here on the channel as well. On Monday, we will have our final mock draft, myself and Connor Livesey, the last installment of Mock Draft Monday. Tuesday, of course, our live Blogging the Boys roundtable at 5 p.m. Central Time. We do also podcast that as well. If you prefer to listen, you can on the Blogging the Boys podcast network. Please make sure you subscribe there as well as here, wherever you get your podcasts. Wednesday, a new edition of the NFC East mixtape with myself and Brandon Lee Gotten from Bleeding Green Nation, our nice crossover event. Shonda Rhimes thinks it's cool when Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice do it a couple of times, every so often, but we do it every single week here at SB Nation. And then Thursday, it's the draft. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we will have live streams going, myself, all across the Blogging the Boys universe. We will venture with different BTB staffers. It'll be quite the time. Hopefully some special guests, and of course, we'll be breaking down the picks. We will also have throughout the draft special videos announcing each pick and giving you kind of a 101 on what you need to know. So needless to say, I have a lot of coffee in my house. I'm ready to roll, ready to rock, and ready to ride. And so that's kind of how I feel about this week. This is such an exciting week because I'm going to go ahead and say that this is the most exciting week of the offseason for the entire NFL. And I realize that free agency has already taken place. I realize that some teams have gotten better. I realize a lot of teams have gotten better. Some teams have gotten worse. I think you could put the Cowboys in there. I know that not everybody wants to hear that, but I think it's objectively true. I think other teams have gotten worse too, though. But the reason that this is more exciting than free agency is because of the obvious. Not every team is equally involved in free agency. In fact, not every team is even at all involved in free agency, as we know all too well. But the reason the draft is different is every team, and there are varying levels of this, obviously, because teams trade picks and whatnot. And obviously, we've seen that happening at a crazy rate, as of late. But every single NFL team has an opportunity to improve their unit right here, right now, this week, whether it's Thursday night, Friday night, or Saturday afternoon. Every single team has a chance, and every single draft pick is a chance. Every single draft pick is something that you can talk yourself into. Every single pick, every single player is somebody whose highlights you can pull up, or you can watch the stuff, of course, here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel, and feel like the Cowboys got away with one, that like they stole one. They really, they found somebody that nobody else could, and it's going to work out, right? So that chase of hope is what we look for. That's why we like sports. I don't mean to get too deep or thoughtful or existential here, but it is the chase of perpetual hope. And so this week kind of personifies that across the NFL, which is why it's so much fun on an annual basis. And so in that sense, looking forward to it. And when it comes to the Cowboys, they do draft very well. They have given us a reason to trust them. Now, maybe you do or don't believe that they are super successful. There's different arguments to be made there, right? A lot of people think like, oh, they always hit their first round picks out of the park. I think that is maybe a little bit incorrect. They're really, really infamously known for taking some supreme risks in the second round. They do not hit it all in the fifth round. They do kind of hit in the fourth round. And so they have these weird tendencies, and history doesn't always repeat itself. Sometimes it does, but sometimes you have no idea what's going to come. You think about last year, we were sitting here saying, entering the draft, the Cowboys had 10 picks because of all the compensatory selections from players that had left the year prior, like Robert Quinn and Byron Jones. And we said there is no way that the Dallas Cowboys are going to pick 10 times. There's just no way. They're going to trade. They're going to package these picks. They're going to move up. It's going to happen one way or another. And that made a lot of sense just on principle. But the year before, in 2020, the Cowboys had moved up in the fourth round to take Tyler Biadasz, and it kind of smelled like that was going to happen. When you have a lot of picks like that, That's the kind of move that you look to make. And we were right. The Cowboys did not pick 10 times. However, we were wrong. They did not trade up. Of course, the only time the Cowboys traded last year in 2021 was in the first round. Dallas had the 10th overall pick, as we all know very well. It was a painful 2020 season, and they moved back from 10 to 12 with the Philadelphia Eagles, and somehow, some way, still wound up with Micah Parsons, who changed their team, who changed their defense, who changed their culture. I mean, I don't think it's ridiculous or hyperbolic to say that Micah Parsons was the best defensive player the Cowboys have drafted this century. Maybe you could throw Demarcus Ware up there, who should be in the Hall of Fame right now. But that's kind of the end of the list as far as, picks that were maybe better than Micah Parsons. That we're talking about a for sure Hall of Famer someday as soon as the Hall gets things right. By the way, on the subject of Demarcus Ware, I buried the lead a little while ago. We will have an interview with him that will drop this week as well. Early this week, Demarcus Ware, our friend, we've spoken to him many different times. We're very fortunate to have interviewed D. Ware. We will do so again, and we'll, of course, get his thoughts ahead of the draft. Very interested to see what Demarcus has to say, so you can look forward to that. But sometimes the draft works that way. We said, again, a year ago, the talk, besides that Dallas was in no way going to pick 10 times. Again, they did pick 11, but we said they're going to walk away with one of these corners, Patrick Surtain or J.C. Horn. They're going to fix the secondary, and the defense is going to be better. We achieved that goal, but, we didn't go about it that way. The Cowboys did draft 2 cornerbacks. They did draft Kelvin Joseph and Nashawn Wright. I mean, it's not like either of those players really has had an impact on the field, has had an impact in the locker room, has really had the impact that you think a second or third round pick would have, like they were. But sometimes that's just the way things go. Sometimes you get lucky. I mean, I wrote something this past week at bloggingtheboys.com about the best and worst picks in franchise history. The best pick that this team has made, and you can make a hell of an argument for Zach Martin, is Dak Prescott, because he's a quarterback, right? You can't get better than a quarterback because that's just the way that this particular game goes. And the Cowboys completely stumbled into that. It is a wild and crazy thing that we do so much work and preparation and studying for when it all still kind of ultimately comes down to luck. And so when I think about the position the Cowboys are in right now, I made a TikTok recently. Yeah, I know. This is where I'm at on this. I'll be fully honest with you. My son is about 5 months old, and I am already working on being able to embarrass him when he's, I don't know, old enough. What's that, like 10? How old do you start being embarrassed by your parents by? Son, this one's for you. But I made a TikTok about my 5 top options for the Cowboys as far as what they can do at 24 overall. Did a video on this in Spanish as well here on the channel. And number 1 for me, and I wanted to say this, I want to put it on the record because I just want to be able to hold myself accountable, is Kenyon Green. That's what I want. That's what I want the Dallas Cowboys to do. In the spirit of just kind of sitting around the campfire here, I love Treylon Burks. That's the option. I will convince myself that that's what I really wanted if the Cowboys go that direction. I will do so to a lesser degree if it's Chris Olave, but I think that this is just a draft where the Cowboys have to address the offensive line. If the Cowboys do not leave Thursday night with a starting left guard, I don't know who the starting left guard is going to be on this team. Now, maybe you believe it's going to be Jamari Sawyer or something like that. There's obviously players you can pick up in the second and third round. We've talked about that. We've done simulations about that here on the channel on Mock Draft Monday, myself and Connor Livesey. And so that's not to say that the math is impossible. I don't, mean to infer or say or imply that it's all doom and gloom, the sky is falling if the Cowboys don't take Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson, who's my second preferred player for the Cowboys. But it just feels like it is time to devote time and energy to this position. And I do feel like we are not properly admitting what the loss of Connor Williams is. We all see that the Cowboys cut Lyle Collins, and everybody wants to roast them and drag them for that. And go ahead. I'm not going to stop you from doing that. But letting Connor Williams walk was not exactly a wise move. David Hellman, friend of the show from DallasCowboys.com, put out a tweet about second rounders over the weekend. I think it was on Friday afternoon. And Connor Williams, obviously a second round pick for the Cowboys. And I think people would say he was a failure. I think people look at Connor Williams and feel like he wasn't a great player. And I know that he had a lot of penalties last year, but Connor Williams was a solid starter for the Cowboys at left guard for the last 4 years. Think about that. The last time that Connor Williams was not starting for this team at left guard was 2017. And I know he was yanked at times last season, again, because of the penalties and things like that, but Connor McGovern couldn't beat him out. I mean, that loss is huge. We see the big ones. We see Lyle Collins' loss, and Terrence Steele is there, obviously. We see Amari Cooper's loss, and that leads to the discussion about Treylon Burks and Chris Olave and whatever wide receiver you want to plug in and talk about. People are not acknowledging, and again, it's weird because we all acknowledge that there is a need at left guard, but we don't acknowledge the drop-off. We only say that it's a need, and to not walk away from the draft with one of those two players, I think would not be the wisest possible thing. That's the boat I've kind of put myself in. And I understand, and I hear all of you that say that the value is more appropriate for one of the wide receivers. I agree. I think that's a better utilization of the 24th overall pick. I don't believe that you should always just kind of draft off of need. That's not, I think a line of thought that works out for any NFL team. But the Cowboys have painted themselves into a corner here by not addressing the left guard position at all in free agency, by not addressing the offensive line at all in free agency. The Cowboys are kind of stuck here. I mean, if we think about this, all right, let's do this exercise, because again, this is the kind of just riffing episode here on the channel. Cowboys offensive line. Let's just put together the starting group right now, left to right. Tyron Smith, Connor McGovern, obviously Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele. Okay, we don't feel fantastic about it again, given what Connor McGovern was. Although if you recall, Connor McGovern was quite the chatter piece after week 1 of last season. But okay, great. Who's your swing tackle? Josh Ball? I mean, and Connor said this really well, I thought, on one of our recent mock drafts. The fact that we cannot count on him and that the Cowboys spent a 4th-round pick on him just a year ago is not great, all right? We should be able to fully not be super confident about Josh Ball, but we should be able to fully say he's the swing tackle. Not just because there's a thought, right? Cowboys should double dip along the offensive line. They need a starting left guard. They need a swing tackle. They need maybe a right tackle of the future. You can have that conversation a number of different ways as well. But that to me, I fully acknowledge the value of wide receivers, the value that Treylon Burks or Chris Olave would be with the 24th overall pick. I'm totally with you. I totally understand. It's an argument and a bit of logic that makes a lot of sense. And I'm acknowledging myself that I'm partially ignoring that line of logic by saying that I prefer Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson, because I will not feel right about this team. I will not feel good about them until they address that glaring hole. And it does kind of feel, and this is not necessarily a great strategy, like they have specifically handled this offseason from the perspective of, we don't have to sign an offensive guard. We don't have to sign an offensive lineman in general, because we're going to get one in the draft. And maybe they believe that's going to be Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson. Maybe they believe it's going to be some, again, second rounder like Jamari Sawyer. Maybe they believe in that. Maybe they are ready to take their chances. And I do think that you can make an argument about, would you rather have Treylon Burks or Chris Olave and Jamari Sawyer, or Kenyon Green and Sky Moore or Jalen Tolbert, right? You can make an argument about which combination you prefer. And the value is obviously different if you go with a wide receiver first. I get that. But I really fully believe that the Cowboys have to address this offensive line. We see year after year after year after year, when the wheels fall off of a Cowboys season, it's because the offensive line has started to take on water, right? And generally that's Tyron Smith because he's been hurt and the replacement isn't, up to status quo. And that goes without saying. Tyron Smith is Tyron Smith. But I mean, you have that question. The Tyron Smith question is going to be there this season no matter what. He's probably not going to play a full season, so you're going to have to address that. Your left side is already not 100% in that particular capacity. You therefore have to make sure that the other position is a slam dunk proposition, that you do not have to worry about it whatsoever. And I understand that there is also a needed wide receiver that the team created by trading away Amari Cooper, but I just trust them to find a wide receiver later. I would just feel better about that myself. So my top 5, if it wasn't obvious, number 1, Kenyon Green, number 2, Zion Johnson, 3, Treylon Burks, 4, Chris Olave, and number 5, again, these are my preferred, order of picks or order of players, my own personal power ranking of options for the Cowboys at 24. George Karlaftis, because edge rush is a need as well. I hate the idea of saying they can get by, but Micah Parsons covers up a lot of holes in that sense, and so I'm fine. Rolling dice is not the way I want to put it, but I'm fine rolling dice there if the Cowboys choose to go another direction. But I'm excited. Like I said, this is the most exciting week to be a Dallas Cowboys fan. It's this offseason, and really not even this offseason. You could widen the parameters, or you could say this is the most exciting week to be a Dallas Cowboys fan since maybe the week leading up to the playoff game. That was a lot of fun. I realized that it didn't end well, but the week was really fun because if you recall, they were coming off the win in Philly and they had set all the records and everything. And we really believed, we were all so bought in. That was a lot of fun. And maybe if you don't want to go back there, you could go back even further. Maybe coming off the Sunday night win against Washington when they just thrashed them and Terrence Steele got a touchdown. So it has been a long time, I guess is my point and the way I want to end here. It has been a long time since we have had a window of time to feel good about the Cowboys, right? It just everything this offseason has been like just gut punch and like slap in the face and slap on the hand and just brushing the shoulder and just like this constant state of funk. And this is an opportunity to finally like flex our Cowboys muscles and feel good and cheer and get pumped and get excited and allow the optimist within all of us, because that person exists. All right, you can deny it. You can say that you don't believe all you want, but all it takes is that spark. We all know it. We all have that little spark that if the Cowboys do it or pull it off or whatever, that we will be back. We will be all the way back. We'll be back like we never left. And this week is the closest thing that we have gotten to that. Is, you know, we're like moths to the flame. That's where we're at. And this week the flame is burning hot. So very excited. Like I said, we have a video available in Spanish for you here on the channel. If you like, if you do watch it and you do speak the language, please, you know, be light with your criticism. I'm working, I'm studying, I'm practicing. The goal, to be frank with you, is to do that more often with more polish and more correctness. Correctness isn't a word, so way to just mess that up in English. So, you know, there we go. But thank you. Please do subscribe here to the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. Going to be a very fun week. Looking forward to hanging out with you, both in our recorded videos and in our live shows. Let's have some fun. Let's do this whole thing. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. My DMs are open if you need to ask me a question. I am on TikTok now, as mentioned, rj.ochoa. If email is more your speed, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com is how you can find me. I've already gotten some questions about this t-shirt. Got it from Homage. Fantastic. They now do make Dallas Cowboys products if you like it for yourself. Very comfortable. If I'm being totally honest, I might sleep in it. But yeah, so it's draft week. It's draft week. Let's party. Let's have a good time. And let's do this thing. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.